can't be worse than what's going on at home.
No, that's good. Now,
let's get into it.
I've got a lot to throw at Chris. I want to just ask you first, Barnaby, what's happening with the coalition? There's been some developments in the last 24 hours. You and Michael McCormack took a stance a month ago to say scrap net zero.
Yep.
There's probably 7 in total now that are making the same noise. What's the latest?
Well, obviously the rank and file and people in country areas are over net zero. Net zero is the head of the serpent, and the tail is the transmission lines going over your countryside. They're not renewables. The intermittent power, nothing renewable about them, certainly not farms. The solar panels, the wind towers, if intermittent power can stand on its own 2 feet, it doesn't need capacity investment schemes, it doesn't need net zero, it'll just happen. But this has been forced on us, and we have to take definitive action to basically bring it back, to have a parliament that says you've got to have this product. And ladies and gentlemen, just follow the money. Who are the beneficiaries of this? It's not going to change the climate. It's Mr Cannon-Brooks, Mr Forrest, overseas billionaires and foreign companies, and we get done over, and we've had enough, and we've got to stop it.
Well, Chris, let's just talk about your role, your company's role in this transition. 1,000 members, some of the big players, small players, and you'd agree, based on the stories you've heard today from farmers, that social licence in many areas, it's not quite right at the moment.
Well, the reality is, and it's a reality that you can't get away from, it's coming at us like a freight train. 90% of Australia's East Coast coal-fired power stations are shutting in the next 10 years. 90%. Now, these are some of the biggest coal generators that have been doing a fantastic job for this country for a really long period of time. And they're not going out because of some ideological frolic. They're going out because they're old and effectively they're cactus. Your lawn, for argument's sake, thank you, sir. Your lawn, for argument's sake, in Victoria, 4,000 hours it was out just in 12 months last year. And that is because it is end of life. Now, we've got a situation where nuclear energy, well, we tried that. What happened? 94 seats in the House of Representatives. The Australian people had their say on nuclear energy. And even if we were to do it, it's 15, 20 years away. If we're in a situation where we're going to build a new coal-fired power station, Barnaby tried that. He spent $5 million on a feasibility study for Collinsville and far north Queensland. And what happened to that, Barnaby?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm not going to
coal-fired power station.
No, you
know what?
Okay, Chris,
you threw $5 million bucks out the
This is
window.
not, mate, 60 minutes. So what you've got to do, understand here, is the government has set a program up which is putting coal-fired power stations out.
So
I want to tell you how well we're going. These are the places that are cheaper than us in power. Australia at 0.24. Uruguay, El Salvador, Luxembourg, Greece, Honduras, Spain, Belize, Portugal, Sweden, and on Saudi Arabia, Mali, Venezuela. I mean, what on earth are we doing to ourselves?
So, Barnaby, let's just look, because I'm conscious of time.
We just want to talk about Uruguay.
I've got plenty to throw at Chris. I want to ask you this first. You're in power for 10 years, right? 10 years. You could have put nuclear on the agenda in 2013. You could have done a lot more with coal. Instead, you and Scott Morrison went to the UN. You didn't go, I don't think, but 2021, and the coalition backed in net zero. We're now 4 years down the track and people are wondering, what, you want to pull the pin now? Why didn't you do it when you're in government? Why did you back it in?
Well, because we were wrong. There you go. How's that? We were wrong. That's what happens. But when you're wrong, as John Maynard Keynes said, when the facts change, I change my mind. What do you do, sir? And personally, I never backed net zero. I always thought it was a crock. And I'd say to this, because we have to suffer with the intermittent power precincts, and Chris is throwing me answers. So, Chris, can you tell me what beach, you live in Sydney, what beach in Sydney do you want an intermittent power precinct off? I mean, if it's so virtuous, why can't you have them on North Head or Middle Harbour? Why do you have to put your filth in our backyard?
Well, let me ask you that seriously. Is there a reason we can't have them off Bondi Beach or the east coast of Australia?
Well, we've got a situation where 4 million Australian households and businesses have rooftop solar. And now they're getting home.
No one's got a problem with that.
Let's talk about offshore wind.
That's not the issue.
Let's talk about offshore wind
off Bondi.
We are looking, this is a resources industry, and you are looking for resource, and wind is the resource.
Well,
and in regional Australia, we have an abundance of sun and abundance.
What do you think it doesn't shine in Sydney?
No,
you think the wind doesn't blow in Sydney?
Why can't you? That's a pretty simple question. Can we have offshore wind
off
in Sydney?
Well, we tried to have PEP. the gas.
No, we're not talking about gas. We're talking about offshore wind.
Newcastle. Can you have it on?
Hang on. This is an absurd.
It's getting a bit awkward now, isn't it?
No, it's not. It's actually not. It's not.
We're going to have offshore wind. There was a proposal for offshore wind in the Illawarra. That's still alive. There was a proposal for offshore wind off the coast of Newcastle.
Go off Sydney.
But there is no proposal because...
why don't you...
Just hang on. Just wait.
No transmission costs.
Let's just talk about it.
It's such hypocrisy.
You talk about it because...
Overwhelming hypocrisy.
The cost of land in Sydney is extraordinary.
No, you put them out off
If you're worried about your...
off the beach.
If you're worried about your...
Surf around your virtue.
Okay, we're not getting anywhere on this, but let's go back to... This is a critical point, right? Because I don't know why, but you can't answer that question flat out. The one issue that has been highlighted in the regional communities I've been to, they don't appreciate the way they've been treated by these green energy companies. They've come into town with a map and said, oh, these guys have got compensation. You don't. Well, and they're worried about their land value, they're worried about living next to the turbines, and they're worried about their futures. So what do you say to those people?
So you realise in New South Wales, by law, neighbours must be paid around these wind turbines.
Do you know how much?
They must be paid.
It's about $5,000.
It varies.
It's about $5,000.
But I'm just hang on. I'm just making the point. They must be paid by law. And I noticed, and Tony made many comments before, and one thing that I would say that I agreed with him wholeheartedly on is that landowners and farmers have the right to do what they want to do on their own property.
No, we don't. We get transmission lines over our place with no...
Barnaby, then what did you do about... So when you got inland rail and there was...
What's inland rail?
We're not talking about inland...
No, but it's the same concept. Because inland rail is important. Barnaby. Inland rail is important because you're moving freight around Australia, correct?
You are putting transmission
lines are important
everywhere.
Because you're moving
There's one inland rail
around Australia.
These are cobwebs of filth going all over our countryside. We do not get paid. If the neighbours are getting a swindle factory, I don't get paid. And you know why I know that? Because my neighbours are. And we were asked if we wanted one, we said no. And the transmission lines, we don't get $10,000 a year per kilometre. Come on, mate. We have 2 corridors over our place. And the thing about this is it's all backed up. None of these would go in, ladies and gentlemen, without a capacity investment scheme. A secret agreement, commercial in confidence, not for publication in the budgets. If it's so virtuous, why can't the taxpayer who pays for this see them?
Can I ask you, Barnaby, what is your plan to replace the coal-fired electricity that's coming out? What is the plan?
I think that it's really important that we understand that we have the cheapest power with coal-fired power. So we've got to clearly understand that net zero is going to make no difference whatsoever to the climate because China's not participating.
So we've got electricity coming out of this.
United's not.
What is the plan to replace it?
Indonesia's not. Well, you can go. I mean, I've got no problems with coal-fired power. I don't think coal-fired power is evil. I believe that China is currently constructing 275 gigawatts of coal-fired power. You know how much Australia has in total? 22.
But do you have a plan?
And that's just
honestly, but do you have a plan to replace it?
Stop. Hold on. I want to...
I've said coal-fired power and having very important to get to. I'm not going to decimate the nation
Barnaby,
with swindle factories.
We need electricity.
Can we just be really clear on this? I want to ask you about some of the deals that are done on these projects. The one I went to recently was a $1.6 billion project. The farmers that are nearby so far have nothing. And the company is offering $20,000 community grants on a $1.6 billion project.
What project is this?
Well, this is at Yass. This is at Yass.
Is this Benedine?
Yes.
Okay. So it's really important to understand the process here. It's like renewable energy company says, OK, where's a really good wind resource? They go to the landholder where the really good wind resource is and then negotiate property deals with them. Now, it is like going to, and then the argument that somehow that's a secret deal, that's like going to council the renewable energy
Capacity investment schemes are secret.
In a community that has said no, the local council, I'm the mayor of that community and we have said no more. We have a policy and your government is riding roughshod over regional Australians. And we've had a gutful. It is the rape of our regional communities with this rollout. And you need to come to our regions, meet the farmers who have said enough. They cannot live, they cannot sleep 360 metres tall. Get yourself out to the region and see what's happening on the ground.
Now, I'll just explain. So can I just say that's Jasmine Jones from YAS.
And this is what we
and I should just say, Chris, probably 700 turbines in that local council are either constructed, and they're saying no more.
I think it's important to understand the process here. You don't have a project unless you have a place to put it. This Benedine is not a project until it is approved by the New South Wales government. There is a very long process to go through, including extensive community consultation.
They've just started streamlining it. We had an act that went through the New South Wales government the other day, the Electricity Amendment Act, and that actually streamlines it. It actually kicks out her capacity to have more of a say. It went through the New South Wales government. It was 4 pages long. You should have read it. Winnie the Pooh is longer.
You've got to realise, when you've got these communities, Chris, and look, I understand what you're saying, and there's the process that is followed for other projects.
And for whatever it is, it can be a unit block, a new supermarket.
There are communities that are saying enough is enough. And an area like YAS has never happened quicker.
No, this is really important. You say that communities say enough is enough.
They are saying.
But that is a generalised view of this entire transition.
Well, you haven't been to the areas we've been to.
Oh, well, you obviously haven't spoken to the farmer in Dubbo that I spoke to.
He found a farmer. He found one.
Okay, what about
Hill?
Barnaby, what about the workers? I got on a plane.
Where are these workers, mate?
I spoke to a bloke who did two tours of the Middle East.
Whereabouts?
Two tours of the Middle East.
Whereabouts are these workers?
Creek
Which town?
Which town are they in? Clark Creek.
Which town are they in?
At Rockhampton.
So you're talking about, hang on a second, at Clark Creek in Rockhampton. Whoa!
I'm conscious of time.
No, I'm
really conscious of time, so be really quick here, please.
A bloke who served this country.
Where's the town to all these workers?
A bloke
they can go to Gunnedah.
Hang on, Barnaby. Hang on.
Where are they
going to move on? Let him
finish.
Hang on.
A bloke who served this country, who is now earning money for his family. Barnaby, you're talking that job down and those dollars for his family
down. You just mentioned one worker. You talk about thousands.
We're talking about 40,000 jobs.
Where are they, mate?
I just told you.
Where?
They're at Clark Creek. They're at Dubbo. They're in the Central West. They're in the South West. They're in Northwest Victoria.
So which is the renewable town, the intermittent town, where they're all working, where all these new factories are, this grand nirvana of greenness? Which town is that?
Okay, we're going to move on because there's a couple of things I really want to get to. Let's talk about decommissioning, which is what happens in 20 years, 30 years, when a turbine or a solar farm comes offline. What happens?
Well, you do not get a project approved unless you have a watertight decommissioning.
And what is that?
That's rubbish.
Hang on. I want to know this. What is it?
It's part of the planning process. You do not get a project approved unless you have a watertight decommissioning plan. We have been building wind turbines
I don't want to
in this country
Chris, answer that question.
1998.
How much? What's the details? Who pays? Is it the farmer or is it the company?
No, the companies pay.
No, they don't. No, they don't, Chris. Get across your facts. Murray Watt, the Labor in the Senate, has clearly stated this. It's the responsibility of the farmer and to be worked out in their agreement with the proponent.
And there is not an agreement. There is not an agreement that has been struck. There is not an agreement that has been struck anywhere in this country that saddles the farmer with.
Well, then why doesn't if you're saying the truth and you're not across your facts, why doesn't the government underwrite your truth and say if this all falls over, the government's responsible for pulling them down?
Well, they ask the government. I'm just telling you exactly what's happening now.
So hang on. You're saying this is watertight.
We have been building
watertight. Barnaby, hang on. Explain this to me. To recycle, or you don't recycle them, but to get rid of a turbine, how much does it cost?
Okay, this is from Andrew Dyer, the Labor Party Ombudsman, and from figures about 2 years ago. A structurally sound one, $600,000. Structural imperfections, up to $1.6 million. That means we'll have farms with negative equity, and guess what will happen, ladies and gentlemen? Just like overseas, they'll just stand till they fall over.
Do you have anything to dispute those figures? Are they right?
And these bonds they offer,
it's like
a $100,000 bond. So this is garbage. You're not being told the truth. It's not the proponent. It's like a sale and leaseback arrangement, and it falls onto the farm for the decommissioning and rehabilitation, which they will not have the money for.
Bald-faced lie.
Okay. That is. Hang on. But how much do they cost? Do you dispute that figure?
Well, because we're looking at a time frame of 25, 30 years' time. So you're asking me to say what's it going to cost in 25.
Hang on, you're wiggling
the companies might not be around there. That's the other thing. They may not be around by then.
And we've got something in Australia called contract law. which is quite important when you sign contracts whereby the decommissioning of these wind farms, and we have been building them
Chris,
since
I thought you'd be
1998,
across your facts,
and there is
mate.
not a single...
Chris, these deals are flipped 3 and 4 times before they put a shovel in the ground.
And we have not abandoned.
And so you've got a contract with a person that doesn't exist. And you don't. And you've got to get across your facts, Chris. The responsibility
can you show me where in Australia is there an abandoned wind farm? Where? We've been building them since 98.
They're actually trying to decommission one in Victoria at the moment.
Is it abandoned?
They're trying to decommission.
You're telling everyone that it's going to be abandoned and good luck farmers, but has it happened?
You are turbocharging these things across the landscape, and you're not across your facts.
I've got to get
you're not across your facts.
Have any of them been
on
abandoned?
Who's responsible for it? You have not said, if you believe it's so virtuous, the government should underwrite their decommissioning like they do with a coal mine. You can't put it in a coal mine because without the actual bond in place to decommission it. And if that falls over, the state government's got to decommission it. But that ain't happening with this swindle. Oh, no, it's the farmer. And you're going to have land with negative equity, and you're going to have people who are staring at obsolescence around their paddocks, and it is not...
Even though it's never, ever happened before.
Okay.
Never ever happened.
Yes,
hold on.
Have a look in Europe. That's exactly where it's happening.
Barnaby,
and they are coming down, and that is exactly what's going to happen
in Australia.
Okay, we've got to move on. There's a couple of things I really want to get to. Farmers are wondering why recently they had to declare why their animals were grazing near solar and wind turbines. And the Meat and Livestock Australia, which gives the licences out, have said there is a risk of turbines or solar farms leaking. What is that risk?
Almost zero.
Well, then why do we have to... What? Regulation...
Hang on, just let Chris explain this for a second.
So,
that'll take a while.
Meat and Livestock Australia have the Livestock Producers Assurance Scheme, which I'm sure you all know.
Yep.
And the Livestock Producers Assurance Scheme, which is paid for by Meat and Livestock Australia, came out the other day, a couple of weeks ago, in its fulsome correspondence to farmers and said it is absolutely safe for sheep, livestock, anything to graze underneath wind turbines, solar panels and energy infrastructure.
Okay.
They said that in a circular to farmers. Right. Now, just like any good farmer knows, and all of you good people here know exactly like this, if you leave a piece of kit that is not maintained for decades and decades on end, if it's diesel contaminating, there will be problems. That does not happen with hundreds of millions of dollars worth of projects. It is not in the developer's interest, it is not in the farmer's interest, and it is absolute codswallop. And for Barnaby to suggest... Barnaby, for you to suggest...
You're just not telling the truth.
Hang on a second. Let me finish my point, and then you can go for life.
Finish it, mate. You're dragging along a bit, and you're not. Once more, you're not factually correct.
What's the Meat and Livestock Australia and the Livestock Producers Assurance Scheme is lying, right?
Hang on. The reason I asked you is
Regulation 2.8 on your LPA agreement says what is your management plan to restrict stock from being around wind turbines and solar panels. Mate, that's what's on the form. How do you know? How do I know? Because I have to fill it out.
So the circular they put around was garbage, wasn't it?
Well, it's on
the only thing you're doing is having a really
How about
really
if I show
nice
you? If I show you that, would that prove it?
You know what all you're doing is talking down the value of cattle and sheep for farmers who are trying to make a quid.
You'd also appreciate that every farmer, whether they're hosting turbines or not, is worried about that. If it suddenly changes...
And that is why the Livestock Producers Assurance Scheme, via Meat and Livestock Australia, said
it's Regulation 2.8, mate. No, get across your facts.
Well, have you read the circular?
It's Regulation 2.8.
We got the advice from them 2 weeks ago.
Right about it.
Know your facts, mate.
It is safe, absolutely
Well, then
safe,
what's Regulation 2.8 about?
Production Assurance Scheme.
You've got to know your document. Regulation 2.8 says you have to show your management plan, and you have to show the management plan to restrict stocks access to that. So why are you saying that's not the case?
All right, okay, I want to just a couple of quick ones before we go. When will power prices come down?
Well, the AEMC says 10 years. And look, I think that's...
10 years?
Well, that's what the AEMC suggests.
You agree with that?
There is no alternative for Australia right now that will have power prices come down the way renewables are.
I'll tell you how to go. The best way is to ground truth this. Is your power bill going up or down? Your power bill's going through the roof. What we've seen is Tommy goes talking about going, BlueScope's talking about going. We've lost our plastic industry. We've lost our urea industry. We've got record insolvencies in this nation. We've had Ampol come out and say the cost of energy is too high for the refineries, and we're down to 2. And this is supposed to be what a successful plan we're running here. And where do these companies want to go? To where energy's cheaper. And what are those countries doing? Well, they're back into coal-fired power. They're into nuclear. There is not one nation on earth that runs Uruguay. We're going to have the Uruguayan economy.
You were saying they've got cheaper power bills than us before.
On intermittent power
98%.
of solar and wind. They might have hydro, but of solar and wind. Not one country. We're going to be the first, and we don't even have the technology to build the stuff.
Okay. Let's just talk about gas before we go. And the reason I ask, last night at our dinner, I sat next to a business owner in Wagga who is now paying $300,000 a month for gas.
Yep.
What's doing with gas?
Well, I'm the gas lobby.
Yeah, but even your lobby has conceded that there has to be more with gas.
We need gas, but gas is extraordinarily expensive. It's really expensive. Gas-fired electricity.
You're talking about gas backup for your intermittent.
Yeah, of course. But gas, what the idea is, you want to use as much of the cheap stuff as
has
possible.
to back up my truck that goes very well when it's coasting down hills.
So, and I think one of the things that's interesting here, and I was speaking to the gentleman in the front row before, he's got 55 solar panels on his farm outside of Mudgee. And he said that's been an outstanding... And he's been an outstanding...
That's no problems with that, mate.
But that's been an outstanding outcome for his power bill and his family's
We're not talking about solar panels on people's roofs.
No, but we're
talking about swindle factories.
You're talking about power bills, right? And there are 4 million Australian households and businesses that do not know what you're talking about because they've got rooftop solar and they've got home batteries.
We don't care about rooftop solar. God bless them. No, God bless them. It's a great idea. So rooftop solar is not what's destroying our communities. It's the swindle factories, it's the intermittent power precincts, it's the transmission lines.
So people taking control of their own power bills is a bad thing, is it, Barnaby? Because you still haven't told us, and we're 38 seconds away.
Why are you arguing with something that I agree? I agree that rooftop solar is not a problem.
We're 38 seconds away from finishing this up, and you still haven't told me...
No, you finished up ages ago, mate.
Still haven't told me how you're going to replace the coal-fired power stations that are going to come out of this electricity.
Well, we're not going to have time for that, but I want to just ask you...
It's a kind of an important principle.
I'm not going to reply...
Hang on.
Electricity comes out, electricity's replaced.
I just want to ask you this before you go. Hang on, Barnaby.
Yep.
Do you understand the frustration, just lastly, when we talk about energy and people getting away from the grid and all that? You've got communities in New South Wales, including Crookwell, and I've been to Crookwell recently, and Cheryl O'Donnell is owed $5,000 from a renewable energy company from 10 years ago, hasn't been paid. She is surrounded by wind turbines, and the town is in blackout. Now, at the very least, can I just ask you go away and talk to your members about maybe giving... Hang on. Maybe giving everyone that you're dealing with around these projects a free power bill, at least, for the next 20 years.
Squadron Energy's doing it at Clark Creek. They've drawn a 20-kilometre radius around Clark Creek, central Queensland, and said $1,000 off your power bill. The same thing happened at Hay Shire, not too far from here. Hay Shire Council went and did an agreement with a proposed developer and said 20-kilometre radius around the wind farm, you get a rebate for the course of the... So this is happening now.
These farms have lost millions of dollars.
We've got to go.
And you're going to give them $1,000.
We've got to go. Well, that's right. Now, listen, can we agree on something? Canberra can win the premiership. Agreed?
No.
No?
Well, St George can't.
Well, there you go. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. Please thank our panel, Chris O'Keefe, Barnaby Joyce.